Let's talk about a mother's revenge, the lioness, Maria Garcia. It's a tragic story of when the system keeps failing parents. Maria, her daughter, who was raped by a chomo, they put this mother in a situation where she had no choice but to protect her child, as she already knew the system has failed her, where she'd ultimately burn her daughter's rapist alive. So everything that led up to this, Maria Garcia, her daughter Veronica, at 13 years old, was brutally raped by their next door neighbor. Chomo was not only their next door neighbor, but a prominent figure in their entire social community. He was in government, he was on board of directors, and even donated his time to charity. Yet as we know, these wolves in sheep clothing will always show up as the neighbor, the coach, the one that can lure your victim, the most vulnerable one, using whatever persona they created. And it's exactly what this chomo did. He would go up to her as she was coming home, and she was kind of confused as he snatched her at knife point, put her in the car, and he brutally did the most horrific thing possible to her. The daughter would come home, and the mother, Maria, knew something was wrong, like any mother would know. She immediately called the police. After years and years of fighting to get justice for their daughter, this chomo was sentenced to only 9 years in prison. People even turned on Maria to the point where they said her daughter made it up. It's her daughter's fault. There's no way this 62-year-old man, prominent figure in society, would do this. Even with DNA evidence, even with the weapon, and even with marks and ligatures that 100% were in correlation to what happened. As the whole community turned on Maria, she felt guilty. Her daughter had been through the most horrific thing. She couldn't believe she wasn't there to protect her, but at least a little bit of solace in the fact that this chomo is going to prison for 9 years. Naturally, the daughter would go through so much trauma, mentally, physically, that she would be admitted to an inpatient mental health facility. And the mother, who couldn't live with her guilt and how the community turned on her, would also go into an inpatient mental health facility. As the years went by, they slowly started to heal. Yet, as we know, the system doesn't give a fuck until it has to give a fuck. This is why, as parents, we do not trust in anything except our children and us protecting them at all costs. So 2005, less than 7 years have gone by of his 9-year sentence. Maria is by the bus station, waiting on the bus, where the chomo who raped her daughter happened to be in a work release program, was out on a 3-day furlough. That is unheard of. In Florida, chomos, any sex crimes, you are not allowed to get any type of work release program. You're not even allowed in any type of special programs, like work camps, anything. You're on a main unit. Usually you're put in your cell 24/7, getting slaughtered. No, this motherfucker was walking down the street on a furlough early. So then they crossed paths. The mother just couldn't believe it. She was shaking, anger. She tried to keep it composed. And this chomo, Antonio, walks by her, looks her dead in the eye, and says, "Hey, how's your daughter, Maria?" She just was frozen. She just didn't know how to even respond to that. Anger, fear, all the feelings are coming back. She just walked away. Yet she noticed, not only was he on a furlough, but this chomo rapist piece of shit walked into the bar to go have a drink. Well, that's what you call pushing a mother to the edge. Maria will go get him a drink on the house. She walked over to the nearest gas station, filled up a bottle of water. As he was walking out of the bar, smiling, half drunk, she didn't say a word to him. She covered him with gasoline and threw fire on him immediately. The chomo who raped her daughter and taunted her would die, as 90% of his body was burned. It took about 4 days of suffering in a hospital bed before this chomo finally died. She didn't run. She didn't hide what she did. She stood there. And she told the police straight up, I just wanted to hurt him. I wanted him to feel. She couldn't believe that this chomo was, one, out. She just couldn't understand how this motherfucker was out on a furlough at a bar drinking. And they've been just trying to pick up the pieces of the trauma that he's left. And on top of it, he walks by her, looks her dead in the eyes, and asks, "How's your daughter, the one he raped?" And this wasn't all in her head. Multiple witnesses were there at the bus station. She was cold and calculated. One of the witnesses said he walked out of the bar smiling, laughing. She stood there with just death in her eyes, cold, like any mother would be. One, you're already feeling guilty, pain for what your daughter's feeling, went through. You've been trying to fix it on every level, and boom, it's right back in your face, brought to you by the Department of Correction. What they're supposed to do is, one, never give a chomo any type of furlough. And anytime someone has a sex crime, they immediately have to call the victims and let them know 90 days prior to when they will be released. And they put them in a facility, at least in Florida, where they have to register and get processed. It's a whole thing. So not only did he violate the terms of work release, as he's not supposed to consume alcohol at any point, he walks by the victim, the girl that he raped, goes to the mother that's been picking up the pieces, just trying to hold it together, and says, "How is your daughter?" And acts like nothing happened, goes and turns his back and has a drink. Nah, Maria said, "Oh no, motherfucker." Casually goes and gets a bottle of water. I'll have 10 on pump 1, fills it up, hits him, throws that Zippo on him, where 90% of his body would be burnt. People were running, getting fire extinguishers, yet nothing was working. So obviously the police arrested her and she would go for trial. So a mother that, one, felt endangered. I mean, this man raped her daughter, taunted her, and is drinking. What do you think is going through her head to protect her daughter? Anger, hate, rage, just every trauma you can imagine. Guess what they do? They sentence her to 9.5 years. Yes, an extra half a year more than the chomo rapist got for raping her daughter. Let that sink in. They failed to do what they were supposed to do as far as detaining him, releasing him into society, telling her and having a restraining order. Nope, none of that mattered. They decided to say, well, we're gonna give you more time than the man that raped your daughter because you don't have the right to take the law in your hands. Yet he has the right to take a woman's innocence, to take a child's innocence, and brazenly walk up to the mother of the little girl you raped and ask her how's her daughter doing. She can't believe you're out. Did you escape? What the fuck's going on? And yet she gets more time than him. People were outraged. They just could not believe it. Signing petitions, lawyers are fighting it, and they pled down and they got it down to 5 years. She's out now. And obviously, we all know we can't just all be vigilantes. But you do not give a mother 9.5 years because she's minding her business and the Department of Corrections released the chomo to the community with no guidelines, no ankle monitor, no surveillance, to where he walks up to this mother here whose daughter was brutally raped by him, the neighbor, somebody they knew for 15 years, and says, "How is your daughter?" Hey, Mama Maria said, "Oh, I got you." Douses him, goes up in flames. They try to send her 9.5 years. She ends up getting 5, out in 4. Listen, nobody has the right to be a vigilante, right? But listen to me. Everybody has the right to protect their child. And there's not a person on earth that would ever disagree with Maria, the lioness. I'm curious, what would y'all do? Knowing that you could possibly get years and years and years, and all that happened, would you fill up a cup of petrol, throw it on him, burn him alive, and wait for the cops? In the end, they always try to make it bigger, like Cain Velasquez. They released that chomo who molested his kid, not telling him anything at the daycare. He sees the person, they're supposed to alert him, nothing. He goes and snaps and shoots up the car. And he's gonna be doing 10 years most likely, while that chomo's still out. It doesn't matter. Leave our kids alone. I'll gladly do that 10-piece. Stay out, stay free. Us.